أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Moderation analysis using IBM SPSS AMOS. So what is the concept of moderation? Moderation is where the direct influence of an independent variable on the dependent variable is altered or changed because of a third variable. So an existing relationship is changing, and that is changing because of another variable, and that variable is referred to as a moderator. This third variable is called a moderator, and it can influence the strength and sometimes the sign, that is, it can change the relationship from positive to negative or negative to positive of the relationship from the independent variable to the dependent variable. A moderator is said to interact with the independent variable to determine the influence on the dependent variable. So what the moderator does is it interacts with the independent variable in influencing the dependent variable. Thus you will hear the term interaction when testing for moderation, where the combined effect of independent variable and the moderator is examined. So it's common to use the word interaction with moderation analysis, and you will hear this term a lot. So how do we test for moderation? Now there are numerous ways to test for moderation using SCM. The first method I will discuss is the interaction term method. An interaction term is where you form a product term of the independent variable and the moderator and assess its impact on the dependent variable. This interaction term will then let you know if the presence of the moderator is significantly influencing the relationship from the independent variable to the dependent variable. Now, if your moderator is a continuous variable, the interaction term method is the preferred option in moderation testing. So if your variable is a continuous variable, then obviously you should use the interaction term method. So what example are we going to use to test moderation in AMOS? Let's look at the moderation example that uses an interaction term. For simplicity, I'm going to use path model with composite variables to initially show how moderation test is performed. This will be just basic moderation analysis in order to let you know how to perform moderation in SPSS using path analysis with composite variables. Later in coming video tutorials, I will show you how to perform moderation test with a full structural model. Now using our example from the path model test, collaborative culture will lead to improved organizational performance. If we say that the relationship from collaborative culture to organizational performance is moderated by the level of role ambiguity. Now, role ambiguity moderates the positive relationship between collaborative culture and organizational performance, such that a higher level of role ambiguity will reduce the impact of collaborative culture on organizational performance. That is, role ambiguity will negatively influence the relationship between collaborative culture and organizational performance. We need to see how the interaction of collaborative culture and role ambiguity influences organizational performance. So we will create an interaction of collaborative culture and role ambiguity. So what's the first step? The first step is mean centering. To assess this interaction, we need to form a product term of role ambiguity and collaborative culture, that is the interaction of the moderator and the independent variable. A problem that can occur with the product term is high collinearity with the original constructs in the model. Now, one way to circumnavigate this problem is to mean center the variables in your data. Now, there has been a long debate on whether mean centering is necessary or not. Now, previous research has stated that the results are essentially the same whether you mean center or leave the data in its raw form. While the differences between these methods are minimal, the advantage of mean centering the data is not only are you accounting for potential collinearity issues, but it also makes the interpretation of results much easier. Thus, the recommendation to mean center your data before analyzing the data is actually encouraged. Now, in testing for moderation, we need to mean center the independent variable and the moderator before we form the product term. So, you need to mean center both your independent and moderator before you create your product term. So, how do we do mean centering? To mean center the data, we first need to get the mean for our independent and our moderator. Now, how do we get the mean? We go to SPSS, we go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and take out the descriptives for our independent and moderating variable. How to do this? I'm going to tell you now. You go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Descriptives. And your independent variable is collaborative culture. Your moderator is role ambiguity. If you go to options, well, yes, the mean is selected. So just press OK. And here are your mean values. For collaborative culture, 4.70. For role ambiguity, 2.65. We are going to later use these values. Now, before we go on and use these values, let's cover the steps. Now, since this is a path model, we are only concerned with the composite variables of the independent variable and the moderator. Now, obviously, we selected the ones and we got these results. So we've got 4.7019 for CC and the mean for RA is 2.6598 on a Likert scale from 1 to 7. Now this step is complete. The next step is, once we have the mean values, we need to form new variables, that is, those variables or your independent and moderating variable centered. Now in order to do this, what you have to do is you have to go to SPSS, transform menu, and then compute variable, because you are creating new mean centered variables. So how do we do this? For CC, what we are going to do is, we already have our composite variable CC that is formed through the mean of all the indicators for CC, and then we are going to subtract the mean value from each value of CC. How do we do this? Now let's go back here. Now let's have a look at this here. Now CC was measured using these 6 items. Now these 6 items were transformed into this particular single variable. How did I do this? Simple, just go to transform, compute variable, type in CC as your target variable and take the mean of CC1, CC2 up until CC6, because these are the 6 indicators for collaborative culture. Just press OK and the new variable is created like this. Now in this case, our step is to create a center CC variable. That is, we have to mean center our CC variable. Now how to do this? We'll go to transform, compute variable and name it center CC. And here I'm going to do mean centering like this. So we add CC, subtract the mean 4.7019. Let me confirm if I'm adding the mean correctly. What is it? Yeah, 4.7019. Alright, press OK. And now your new variable is created. Where is it? Come to data view. Go to the end. Now here it is. Now each mean value for CC for every particular respondent is subtracted from the mean. So 5.83 minus 4.7019, and these are the results. Now we have to do similar thing for role ambiguity as well. So go to transform, compute variable, and here we will write center RA. And in this case, we will subtract RA, which is our composite variable for role ambiguity. And what's the mean for role ambiguity? Let's have a look. The mean is 2.6598. Just press OK and your new variable is created. Here it is, center RA. Now this step is complete. Just going to review this step now. So we went to compute variable. So we created center CC variable. In the numeric expression, we wrote CC minus the mean value. And similarly, we did for center RA minus the mean value. Now the two new variables were created and listed as the last columns. To verify mean centering results, check the descriptives of newly formed variables and your mean should be 0. And the standard deviation of the mean centered and original variables would remain the same. So how do we do this? Again, just take the descriptives of the newly created variables. Analyze, descriptive statistics, descriptives. We need to remove these because these were our original variables. And these are our mean centered variables. Press OK. Now look at this. The mean is 0. So you have mean centered correctly. So here is our step 1 for moderation. Mean centering. Variable minus the mean score.